Welcome to the Mind Sensei podcast. I'm your host, Peter Taz, and I'll be taking you on a journey to the world of martial arts and introduce listeners to some of the most inspiring and knowledgeable practitioners from around the world. Whether you're a seasoned martial artist or a curious beginner, or just enjoy hearing a great story, the Mind Sensei podcast Down Under has something for everyone. So tune in, sit back, and let us take you on a journey through the world in martial arts. Yeah, so you have your own school out there in San Jose, or you just
I I owned a school for 11 years in Austin, and that started in 2007. I ended up selling off the assets the first of the year in 2016, and and that was a great school, but I don't own a school anymore. I train at Santa Clara Kenpo Academy and teach a couple of nights a week, privates and classes. I teach adult Kenpo classes and the grappling class, and kind of lead the what's turned out to be kind of leading the sparring curriculum. Um, but that's the school's owned by Sandra D, and I love her. She's a sister to me, and the instructors there I've known for nearly 30 years. We've bled together, puked together, sweat together, and and I really feel part of a family there at Santa Clara Kempo. It's very much a family environment. It's Mr. Sepulveda's alma mater, is what it is.
he's what? Sorry.
His alma mater, as if you're returning back to your home school. Like, it's his alma mater because he had Santa Clara, and much of us from when he actually owned the school here in Santa Clara, we're still around carrying it on right here in Santa Clara.
Nice. Okay. All right. So you're part of Mr. Sepulveda's organisation, AKTS, still? Yep.
I am.
Okay. And do you have any black belts under your lineage? And
I, I, I do. I do. I mean, I've had hundreds of students come through my school, and you know, it's 100 at a time, but over 11 years is probably several hundred but they come in, they try it out, and the yellow door, the yellow revolving door type situation. Some of them, I think you fall in love with Kempo, Peter. It's not an instant, and some people are infatuated by it, by seeing it, but you fall in love with it over time once you understand the system, and it's a lifetime of learning, obviously. The And how deep you want to go. It's Not everybody wants to be the watchmaker. Some people just want to
correct,
be
correct.
they just want to be the iron worker.
They just want to wear some just want to wear the watch.
They just want to wear the watch.
All right.
Yes.
And then
But
you have a few select people that'll stare at the watch through the window and sing its praises but never touch it.
yes. And there's a saying that Bob White used to use because you get it all the time. How long does it take an ordinary person to earn a black belt? Well, first of all, ordinary people don't get black belts, was what Mr. Bob White used to say. It takes an extraordinary person to earn a black belt. It takes an extraordinary person to earn a second, then a third, then a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. It takes an extraordinary individual to be in the art 60 years, like John Sepulveda. And and that's fascinating to me. Mr. Sepulveda has been in the art longer than Mr. Parker was alive. And so we'll get into my mindset about, remind me, because I want to tell you my view of all these seniors and what they contribute, and with respect to Mr. Parker, and it's kind of a scatter gather chart. But back to your question, I have two black belts currently. There's a gentleman named Daniel Hernandez and Ed van der Linden, both extraordinary athletes. One was very much Chinese Kempo. The other one was more of a kickboxing protege and BJJ, um, MMA type person. And then here in Santa Clara, I've got a number of students. Several of them are in their advanced brown belt stages, and very much looking forward to them becoming black belts.
So
But
your two black belts you have, are they still training now? Have they
one
stopped?
One has stopped. He's still in Texas. Once I moved away, I think he just kind of he he took the school over for me, and I have an eternity of gratitude. It,
Was that
I didn't.
Daniel or
No, that would be Ed van der Linden. He took the school over, and I had to transition my MMA students, transition my jujitsu students, transition my kickboxing students to other places. And Ed's an enormous Kenpo, great martial artist in Kenpo, but they weren't there. The students were not there for Ed. The students there were there for me, and I wasn't there anymore. My family moved back to California 20 months ahead of me. And that happened for a number of reasons. One, I was trying to make a startup successful. Two, I had a house that we needed to figure out how to sell. And three, I committed to these guys in 0-degree weather and 120-degree weather that I was going to get them both the black belt. And I meant to keep that commitment and promise. So Ed got his black belt first. The next year, Daniel got his black belt, and then immediately after that occurred, I packed up and moved to California to be with my two sons and wife instead of traveling back and forth and really living in two different states. And I was going to transition the school to Daniel, but Daniel had some career interests and other things, some other things that came up, and he ended up moving to Colorado. So, Ed graciously decided to kind of try to take things over, and he did the best he could. But, the reality was they weren't there for Ed. They were there for me. Ed would have needed to build his own, experience. And it's kind of like anytime you sell a school, you look at the income and the profit and loss statement and balance sheet, and you need to factor in that if that person leaves the school and sells it to you, some people may leave because they were there for that person, not the new person. And that's what we experienced. And then it just came to a time, and thankfully, because COVID came out, a couple years later, and it was a blessing in disguise. But I sold the cage panels and the bags and everything, the mats, and I sold everything off and closed the school officially the first part of 2016. But it was an incredible school. We had over 20, you know, we had, it was more like 60 people at one time actively in the school across several programs. I partnered with Daniel Hernandez, who took really a lot of what he'd learned and he created something unique called Ultimate MMA Fitness. And it was trained like a fighter, but you have to take the physical contact like a fighter. And it was a great program. I was teaching jujitsu and the judo, shoot wrestling, all kind of wrapped up together as grappling, kind of like what I'm doing now in Santa Clara on Tuesday nights. But then Muay Thai, I had some amateur MMA and amateur kickboxers that I was coaching, and plus the Kenpo class is a great kids class, and and we were profitable, investing back into the school, and so it was a great time of my life, and I wouldn't have changed a thing, but it was ultimately it was time to go to California to be closer to family.
and you were talking before about the mindset of seniors in Kenpo.
Yes. So here's the thing, and I'm staring at a a picture of Mr. Parker, that one of the ceremonial ones that had the great background on the wood frame that was given to Michael Billings, that was given to me when I took ownership of the school. I have a lot of things like that, the red book. But anyway, I've thought about this long and hard because I've trained with a lot of notable seniors, either in camp seminars or directly, and there is no single person that is the same, and they're all incredible. And my view is a scatter gather chart. In engineering, we do that. If you take a square here, and this is Ed Parker, okay? Ed Parker. and everything he knew. And you fill it with everyone from the black belt tree that's still living that you can train with. Some people's dots are going to be small. Some people's dots are going to be big. It depends what they've done in the art and what they've done to grow and expand. Some people's circles are going to expand outside of Ed Parker because they've been progressive and they've trained in other styles, Kali, Jiu-Jitsu, you name it. So just really depends. But if you take them all and you put them in that Ed Parker rectangle, you still, all of them, you still don't have an Ed Parker combined. Ed Parker will never be matched, will never be replicated, will never be, you know, it'll never be Ed Parker. But each individual instructor, for what they've given, Mr. Sepulveda was 60 years. He's grown in his own right. You know, uh, Frank Trejo, and before he's gone. Your Graham Elliott, your instructor. Oh my, the knowledge. Wow. Lee Wedlake, for which I've spent a lot of time with as well. Huck Planis, unfortunately, passed. I mean, you take all the seniors. Ron Chappelle, I've trained with him. Paul Dye. The list goes on and on and on. You still don't have an Ed Parker in its completeness. But each of these incredible Kenpo masters and instructors have grown themselves, some more than others. And some have grown outside that rectangle into other ways of thinking that Ed Parker might not have ever explained in that way. So that's the way I think of it, is get out there and experience anybody that you can train with, because they have a perspective, they've got a context. There is no right and wrong. There is no the way. Some instruction is better communicated than others. Some ideas are more applicable to one person's interest than others. It's just get out there and experience everyone, because my students have asked me, Mr. Haley, if you're in a real confrontation and fight, what style or what system would you study? That's a good question. And you know what? It would be mine. It would be my style. What would be my martial art? What is my martial art? It's Kenpo, it's Judo, it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's Muay Thai, it's other aspects of kickboxing, it's shoot wrestling, it's boxing, it's bite them in the ear if I have to. It's my martial art. That's what I would use in a street confrontation if I were to ever encounter one again. And that's the yeah, it's a way of thinking about things that in my mind as an engineer, it's like a scatter gather chart.
Yeah, I think also it's the eight considerations too, right? It's environment driven. Like we've got, it depends on the environment you grew up in. Like the environment we grew up in back in the day to now is a whole different shooting match. You know, so
That's right. You're absolutely right. And you just don't know. And, some people say environmental awareness is the first consideration. Actually, acceptance is the first if you look at the list. But environmental awareness is right there, number two, and super important. Acceptance, accept the fact that, oh my gosh, is this happening to me? Because so many people get that sensory overload, as they call it, from the skydiving and diving, scuba diving, sensory overload. You got to stay collected and accept that you're in the environment, an environment that is not, your environment. Human beings aren't supposed to be under the water, and they are, right? Or acceptance. Is this happening to me? Could it happen to me? Yes. Krav Maga is good about that, what they do in that system, where I've got friends that have studied left Kenpo, went there and we conversed and we compared notes. And the thing about Krav Maga is up front, they're just do something, and never give more than 3 instructions to overwhelm the student, but just do something. They don't really care what you do because they're trying to break the apprehension of doing. And later, it's more structured, and later you're starting to really focus on specifically what you do. In Kenpo, from day one, delayed sword, stabilize your base, hammering inward block. The reason for that is 50-50 weight distribution. From day one, we're teaching the whys and the details of the principles and concepts. But acceptance is the first environmental consideration that a lot of people need to ponder on. If you were in a restaurant and something happened, people came through that door, because this is an ugly world, like you said, we live in. You keep hearing in the news of terrible things at what was supposed to be a Hanukkah beach party. Oh my! If this started acceptance that it can and it may and it may happen, then it's environmental awareness, and then it's falling back to all the other considerations. That's another good structure that Mr. Parker put together. And simulate. I remember after 9/11, we started like getting some chairs together, and and um and I even did this at my school in Austin in case it ever happened again, is getting chairs together and figuring out, all right, here's the bad guys. What are you going to do? You don't have the room. You're in an aisle of an airplane with nothing. What are you going to do? Roll up the magazine into a club that's in the seat back pocket. Take your shoes off and put them on your hands and wrists. I mean, what are you going to do under a situation like that? Train it, because again, the thing that you fear most is the thing you've never seen before.
And the thing that you aren't, if you've got your eyes closed and you're walking around with your head in the sky, that's the thing that you're not anticipating that's really going to throw you off.
That's why I
Yeah,
cannot sleep on planes. I can't sleep on planes very well. It's because I need to be aware of my environment. I struggle with it, and I'm a constant people watcher to the point that my wife is telling me to knock it off. And I won't sit with my back to an entrance door at a restaurant. My kids know, why are you sitting there? That's your dad's chair. And it's because of those considerations.
yeah, definitely. All right, let's see. And do you have any funny or weird stories from your journey that you can share with us?
Funny or weird stories? Yes, I got a funny story. Don't know if you know Larry Beltramo. Larry Beltramo was the kickboxing coach, our kickboxing coach, Santa Clara kickboxing. Larry Beltramo, um, we used to travel, and he went through a metal detector and needed to get frisked. So they were patting him down and they asked what he had in his pant leg. And he just pulled his pant leg up, and it was just massive calf. And that one we talk about is kind of funny. Um, and and then oh, let's other funny stories. Let me think. Um, we joke and we ridicule each other. Gil Acosta in Santa Clara is notorious for just being a jokester, and he's always doing funny things. And one time we were at a ranch in Texas. It's owned by Tommy Burks. And at the time Mr. Burks was affiliated with the AKTS, and we were there. And me, I haven't done a lot of horseback riding. I have boots and grew up in Oklahoma and Texas, good part of my life, but I haven't done a lot of horseback riding. So I was so excited, and Mr. Burks was like, "Oh, we'll get you on a horse." And so, oh, I'm so excited. So, funny story about myself. I can laugh about it now. Is they said, "Hey, if you want to ride that horse, we better get going. It's getting dark. Let's get back there." So we walked back to the indoor arena that he has, and I'm waiting, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm so excited. Oh boy, Jack Spencer's gonna be jealous. Oh yeah, he sure will be." And everybody's laughing, And they said, yeah, well, here comes your horse right now. And I hear this cluckety cluckety cluck cluck cluckety cluck cluck. And I'm like, oh. And they came around carrying a stick pony that Gil had ordered, and it arrived in the mail like the day before. So perfect timing. And so they're like, if you're going to climb on a horse, you have to ride the stick pony all the way around this arena as training, right? You got to train to get on a horse. And I was thinking, oh boy, I'm how do I say no to this? I'm going to say no, but I'll be doing push-ups or something. Okay, well, a lot of thought has gone into this. I'm the butt of the joke, but I'm going to go ahead and go with it. And then I said, all right, fine, I can do it. And they said, oh, and by the way, and they pull out this little hat that's about this big with a string on it, and you got to wear the hat too. So I strapped this like it's a monkey hat or something, this little thing, and and I had to run around the arena, and so I was doing a gallop and patting my butt like I'm galloping, squeezing the ears so that it made the and the neigh cluckety cluck cluck, and everybody was just laughing and laughing and laughing. But I did get on that horse, the real horse, and everybody today will talk about that funny story about me being on that stick pony. I'm the stick pony champion. And the same gentleman, he's a clown. If you've not met him, Peter, you need to. His name's Gil Acosta. He was my coach after Mr. Beltramo, and we were on the way to the national championships in where was that? It was it was Indiana, Grand Rapids, yeah, in Indiana, I think it is. And we're on the plane, and I was sitting a couple of rows back, and and Gil's talking to everybody around him, and then they were, and then I was whenever I ran into them later, they're like, "Hey, congratulations! Hope you do well at your event." And I said, "Oh yeah, thank you so much, thank you so much." And come to find out, they were like, "Oh, you guys are competing? What are you doing? What are you competing?" "Oh yeah, he's an avid competitor." And they're, "Well, what does he do?" Well, sock puppets. Well, sock puppets. Well, he's a champion sock puppet, and he had them all convinced that I'm some champion sock puppet thing, that's what I do. And so and then I didn't know it. So they're like, "Hey, good luck in your competition." "Oh, thanks. I've worked really hard at it." But he had them convinced that I, do some kind of sock puppet thing. Um, and I found out about that later, and everybody make fun of me. When I got home from the trip, because he told me this, and we competed. And when I flew back, I had a black Jeep Wrangler. And when I went to get my car out of the long-term parking, there was a sock puppet on my antenna because he had called back to a friend, and they made a sock puppet all decked out, and it was hanging on my antenna when I got home from that very trip. So these are the we just kind of ridicule each other, but this is the family that we have at Santa Clara, where we can, do these funny things to each other.
So, how long have you been in sock puppets now?
Well, if you believe the stories, I guess, since around that time frame, probably about 20 years, Peter.
Okay.
About 20, if you believe the stories.
So, how was martial arts impacted your physical and mental well-being?
It's the basis of my entire philosophy. It's my passion. My career, I said this last night at the party when I was addressing a good number of the students that was here at the house that we hosted. um, Kenpo martial arts is my passion. It becomes you. It's who you are. It's your character. It becomes your ethos. Now, my career, I enjoy it, but it just affords me to enjoy my passion. And and someone mentioned something, oh, your wife is standing next to you. I'm like, don't get me wrong, that's the love of my life. She is the love of my life. Kenpo is my passion in life, and it really has changed me, and as an instructor. You asked me a question about mastery earlier. I have been in some altercations. They're not worth bragging about or even talking about, but I have. And Kenpo worked well, as did the other arts I study, to deal with the situation. Yet I've been in more recently in times where I've avoided. So I'll tell you a story. In Austin, it's full of nightclubs down at 6th Street and 4th and 5th, or lounges, and we were at a Andrew was an amateur kickboxer. I'll say his last name to protect the innocent. But we went with him and his girlfriend to a nightclub and lounge, and I stepped away to use the restroom. When I came out of the restroom, Andrew was in this guy's face, the African American gentleman, and he was in his face just screaming at him. And I walk up, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? Oh, I'm glad you're back. Now you can take care of the situation. As soon as you left for the bathroom, he walks up and hits on Bernadette. He grabbed her arm and starts hitting on Bernadette, my wife. And I'm like, Andrew, let me take care of this. And I turned to him, to the gentleman, and I said, I think there's a misunderstanding, because he had friends with him behind him. I said, why don't I buy you and your friends some drinks? And we walked over to the bar, cost me what, $50 or something. Give them whatever they want. And after I just needed to get him away from Andrew. Andrew, from my perception as a third person view, right? Another Kenpo concept, was the problem, not the other gentleman. Andrew was. So once I got him away and I got him some drinks, then the guy was like, hey, I didn't mean anything by it. I didn't know she was married. Your wife is attractive. Oh, thank you. If she wasn't, I wouldn't think so either. So when I, and that was it. When I came back, Andrew's like, I don't understand. You could have mopped the floor with all of them. And I'm like, you know what, Andrew? Maybe someday you will. Maybe someday you will. And that's, being able to de-escalate a situation is, I think, a skill that needs to be mastered,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah, I think that comes with confidence in knowing that you can, but just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, weird. There's a syndrome or something. I can't remember it now without looking it up, but it's car people get into a car accident, say that everything slows down. They almost see it in slow motion.
Time dilation, it's called, but it's super consciousness, actually. Mr. Parker talks about it in his book. But I
Okay.
think we've got one of the episodes we talk about was one of Mr. Wedlake's guys. I should remember his name, but it's just escapes me at the moment. He's Jim Deary. He did his thesis on time dilation and superconsciousness, and then I started looking at it after speaking to Mr. Wedlake, talking about Mr. Parker's stories, time slowing down, because I've experienced it quite a bit in situations where everything just seems to be,
Mhm. Me
in
too.
matrix bullet time. You got a lot of time to do a lot of stuff, but the others don't. And yeah, time dilation is actually a slowdown, physical slowdown in time where everything else moves slowly around you. But super consciousness is a point of where your mind and everything is racing so fast in comparison the world is running slowly around you. So you're not slowing down time, you've sped up to a different stage or you're at a different level.
Yes, and I've experienced that as well. So in terms of weird, that that that's at the top. In some, not all, but in some of my matches, things kind of went into that situation for not the whole fight, but periods. But there was one particular incident. It was actually my engagement party where my wife and I went up to Reading with an old group of friends, and we were in Wind River Casino's bar having drinks and catching up, and at this little round table, and I just noticed a commotion. And the commotion, another friend was like, "Yeah, get this guy out of here, yeah." And this guy was rough looking. He was a biker looking kind of guy, and um, leather jacket and beard, and just he just looked kind of rough. He was somebody you wouldn't want to tangle with. And two security people were trying to escort him, and he got free and knocked one of those security guys against the wall and knocked the other guy back. And he bumped our table and spilt our drinks. So I stood up and I was facing him, and he was maybe 3 feet, 4 feet away, not even. But I just read his eyes. His eyes were anger. His eyes were rage. His eyes were, and I knew he was going to push me. And it all went into the slow motion. And I front kicked him and sent him over a drum set and made the drummer mad. He definitely wasn't happy with me later, but and the daughter came up and was like, "Hey, don't hurt my dad." And I remember my heart rate hadn't even risen. I said, "I'm not going to hurt your dad. You need to get him and go home. Take him home." And I talked to Mr. Sepulveda and Bob White when he was still here about that, and I remember, the time dilation. That's the weirdest thing that ever happened to me, because it literally felt like I had a half hour to front kick him, and that's all I did. But it was surreal and, again, strange, like the Matrix. And I did experience it, and I never got excited. I never, my heart rate didn't go up, and the kick was super powerful. It put him over a drum set.
Yep. Is episode 20.2. It's unleashing the mind with time dilation, but it actually should be called more super consciousness, because when you read through Mr. Parker's insights, he talks about super consciousness, and it's all sort of tied in together. But that was an interesting. I have conversations with people, and then I'm off. You know me, I'm off and I'm investigating and researching and doing all sorts of stuff. But and he said you need to talk to Jim Deary. He did his thesis, black belt thesis on it, and we exchanged notes and stuff. And I said, how would you like to do a co episode together? Let's like I want to tackle this. Let's use your paper and let's talk together. So he says fine. So. On Mr. Wedlake's behest, we dragged him into it and got him online. So
I'll
good.
check that one out. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
I'll check
so
that one out.
there's a few episodes now. I'm trying to do a bit of not just interviews, but martial science. So I've got quite a few episodes that I'm working on to tie them up. But yeah, definitely, I've had that happen quite a few times. So I had it happen at work one day with an individual, and you got a list of stuff, sidekick, tick, and this individual, let's just say he wasn't all there, right? He was those you look in their eyes and the lights are on, but no one's home, right? And I was just heating up my lunch in the microwave, so he was already there, two microwaves. Heating is. I was there first actually. As I was in the first microwave. No, it was him. Yeah, he was there first microwave, and I rocked in, put mine in the microwave next to it, turned around, g'day, and he had this look on his face. No other interaction, no nothing. Turns around, throws this overhead punch hard as he could, and I was pretty fit back then. Like I was still bodybuilding. I could lift half a house kind of thing, and I was pretty strong. Punched me in the shoulder, and I'm like, just dusted it off, looked at him, and did one of my probably best side kicks I've ever done, and just launched him off the ground into the cupboards. It was between a head and the head cupboard, low cupboard. In between, hits that wall, bounces down, lays on the ground in a pile, and just waited for my lunch and said, "You don't have to take it that far." I said, "You can start, but I'll finish." don't ever lift a finger against me again, kind of thing. And I knew I wasn't going to get in trouble because he was the one who started it, and he wasn't all there anyway. So what? But I just, sometimes you just know. But it was all slow mo. I could see this guy travelling through the air, bouncing off the wall, hitting the ground, and you've done all this stuff in your head already. Okay, what situation is, what's going to happen? Should I be doing this? But I just knew because this guy was just not. It was one of those moments where some bullies just need to be dealt with in certain ways.
Absolutely. Some bullies need to be dealt with. I totally understand.
But yeah, but enough of me, more of you. Um,
Okay.
okay, let's talk about personal development in martial arts. Look, I know you're a professional engineer. Let's talk a little bit about your thoughts on personal development.
Yeah, so to be good at martial arts, you need to teach martial arts. You want to learn martial arts, teach it, they say. And part of that, I think, requires that you learn how to be a good instructor. It's not just, well, I have the rank and therefore I can be a teacher. A teacher has, you know, it has elements and aspects that he also needs to master. We know as teachers, first thing you got to do is be able to identify with your students and understand their learning, and and so that's one thing. For example, if someone says, "Can I see that again?" then you know that they're an auditory learner. Or, "Can you explain that again?" They're they're Can I see that again? They're a visual learner. And can I hear that again? They're an auditory learner. Well, can you do that on me, or can I do that on you? They're a kinesthetic learner. So that's important. It's being a teacher takes some time as well. Um, Being a teacher, an effective instructor, requires a bit of charisma so that people want to listen to you. And you have to develop charisma. You have to develop the ability to speak to people, the words choice you use, the vocabulary. So I have, investigated those areas more. Lee Wedley got the AKSC going again years ago, where he put structure behind that program, American Kenpo Senior Council, and you had to study and you had to test and you had to take a written test and you had to provide a video. And I went through all that. So I have, if it's valuable because it's not really doing that anymore, but I did earn my AKSC patch from Lee Wedlake, Johnson Polito, Bob White was part of that. And but the purpose and the context or intent behind the program was you need to learn how to be a good teacher. You just that There's a difference. So I've read books on it and took public speaking classes at work. I'm privileged to need to speak in front of large audiences at times, and I've done a lot of Toastmasters, so you don't hear a lot of ums and ahs from me as filler because I just learned how to get past that from table topics. So I recommend that to anyone that's truly wants to improve being a teacher. There are programs to help you obtain that desire. And then the other part of that is um, you know, being an instructor is a lot of like being a coach, and a coach is allowing someone to realize their full potential. And and people skills are something that not everybody has, but just learning to identify with people is something also that I try to teach my own students, right? You can know everything, but if you're not an interesting person that can and you can't communicate, then you won't be able to provide that information that people are looking for.
Okay, I did also notice because I do find things that you got dressed up in full Mortal Kombat for a speech at work. Let's hear about that journey. You thought you were
That
going to get
was
away with it, right?
I thought so. I didn't even think about that one. So yes, so that was for what's called a sales kickoff meeting at work, where all the salespeople, all the marketing, all the product managers, all the sales engineers that get together and a sales kickoff meeting tries to achieve three things: celebrate, educate, motivate. Celebrate, educate, motivate. It's a sales kickoff meeting in the corporate world. And I gave a lot of sessions. I did the competitive landscape as it applied to our product. I did the roadmap. I did the innovation, and that theme was superheroes. So some people dressed up like Mario. Some people, there were a number, but I said I'm going to dress up like Raiden. And I had two costumes. Might be able to see them somehow in Google searches. The first one was Christopher Lloyd in the yellow kind of tan where he has the Chinese round hat, and I nailed that costume. I actually borrowed the bathrobe from the hotel, which was better than the thing I had. I put it underneath, then put the robe over, and that was one. And then the second one was for the competitive landscape. And my boss set this up such that he they called my name. All right, next speaker, Glenn Haley, gonna, senior director. He's gonna cover competitive. And then I was nowhere to be found. I was backstage actually, and I was in the more of the Raiden um, warrior, where it's got the blue glowing eyes and the white suit, and that was in the recent movie and the remake of it. I was backstage, so it's like, well, I don't know where Glenn is, so we're going to start this off. I'll get it kicked off, and then the lights went out. The lights went out, and I emerged from behind the curtain with blue wraps and blue eyes. At that time, just blue eyes. Head down, and I was scanning the audience, and I walked up the stage, crept up. I studied the way Raiden moved, and I went up on stage, and I'm just looking at them. And then, boom, they flashed the Mortal Kombat image behind me, and then the music starts. Dun, 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 dun. And I did a version of Form 6, Form 4, finger set, some kickboxing jab, cross spinning hook kick. I did all that in a kind of a musical kata in front of, there was probably 300 people there at least. And and that was a lot of fun. Yeah. So that picture you saw might have been me standing on stage there.
Well, I was a video, mate. I'll find it.
Oh, you saw a video.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
boy.
yeah. I got
Oh,
video.
okay.
I got all the dirt on you. So
So
Mr. Lelliot kept saying to me, keep taking photos and videos. What are you doing that for? I said, oh, we call it leverage in Australia.
that's good. You've got dirt on people.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. The stage was awful small. I actually stepped off the back of the stage off my first move. Um, Boom. I stepped back instead of step forward. So, because I was in my hotel room upstairs, moved the couch out of the way. And this is about the size of that stage because it was smaller than I thought of what I had rehearsed. And I had to tighten up everything like a musical cut the form. But it was a lot of fun. There's the cape. There's a white cape, and it got over my right shoulder somehow. So that was bothering me, and I would have had to stop and adjust. The show goes on. You just like if you're competing in a tournament, you you don't stop. You just keep going. Deal with what you got to work with.
I tell a story. I went to visit a gentleman in Sydney and stayed with him for the weekend. And he said, "Oh, they're going up to a tournament. Probably about an hour's drive away." So I'll come with you. I'm not doing anything. So I went up there, but I think it was a brown belt at the time, and all I ticked was my old black, the old thin geese. When you wash them, they're like raggedy grey, right? Just very sad looking. If you got top and bottoms, they look good. But when you just got top, and then I had these ratty old tracksuit pants. They were dark blue, and they had a white and black stripe down the side of them. Right. So yeah, I'm wearing tracksuit pants. I've got my ratty black. It's now grey and a brown belt. You just couldn't pick five colours that did not go together, right? And we went to this tournament, and I said, "Oh, you guys going to compete?" They went, "No, no, no, no. We're just here to watch. We were not competing." I said, "Yeah, you got to compete." And so I walked up to the table and I said, "Oh, I want to compete." And they said, "No, registration's closed 2 months ago." It was. I said, "Come on, look, I've come a long way. Can I just go in a Carter?" They said, "Okay, we'll let you go in a Carter." And they're just thinking, this guy's just rocked up on the fly. What's he going to do anyway? What I didn't realise is when I walked in, so I went and put my gi on, my belt on. I looked like it. We call them a bitzer over here, bits of this and bits of that. Just absolute disgrace, right? And I walked in, and this tournament had over 300 people, and they were wearing white, crisp, traditional uniforms.
Mm.
And this guy walks in, and he's got blue tracksuit pants, white and black stripe down the side, grey top, brown belt. Just, you couldn't have picked. It just wasn't a great look. Anyway, so I went up, and I went up. I think I went into his traditional kung fu forms, and I think I did short three, bit of long two and short three or something. I said to the guys, "Can you hold my glasses?" They said, "No, no, we can't hold them. No help from anyone." Anyway, I left my glasses on. Anyway, I did the first move, and I clipped my glasses, but my glasses went across my face, so I had them this way.
Oh,
I didn't stop though. I just kept doing the form. Finished up, straightened them out at the end. Finished up, and it was hilarious because these glasses were like, it was almost throwing you off because of prescription lenses. One eye is good and the other one's not, right? And anyway, I placed second. And they said
because you didn't stop.
I didn't stop, but if I didn't clip my glasses, I would have taken first place. But talk about 300 pairs of eyes looking at you too, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like you talked about, don't stop. It's a good story, right? It's a good story. Never stop, right?
Don't stop.
But yeah. But just walking in and there's like 300 pairs of white crisp geese, and there's this guy that's got a bit of this and a bit of that going on.
That's funny. It's funny. I can visualize you with your glasses sideways.
Yeah, it almost looked like a Jerry Lewis movie, really, but it was hilarious. And inside of myself, I was cracking up, laughing, but kept my composure.
Uh,
All
well, you
right.
don't have much. You don't have much apprehension. You get
No,
out there and do pretty
no.
much anything.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. We'll give it a good right roll go. Okay. All right. Let's. What advice would you have for someone starting out in the martial arts?
Yes. Never. It's never too early, obviously, and like as you get started. I mean, a lot of people walk into a martial arts school that's close in proximity. That may not be the right fit for you, but kids they tend to start at the school down the street. Um, I think any martial art for a young person, if that's who we're talking about, is going to give you the confidence, self-esteem, discipline, work ethic. I mean, anything will give that to you but in time you need to start looking at what you want, because there are differences. There are differences in instructors and how they teach the and you should seek out what you're looking for. Um, Once you're in, though, just remember, like Mr. Parker said, have an open mind. The mind is like a parachute; it only works when it's open, and you gotta have an open mind about things. You're in the particularly in the Kenpo community, you're going to see differences, and like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, just understand that it's all contextual. It's contextual as to one way versus another. Something that they're emphasizing may be relevant to what they're showing. Like Mr. Parker said, another saying, even a broken clock is correct twice a day. So under the right condition, then it's all valuable. So that's the first thing, is keep an open mind. Try, if it's a young person, anything. Um, any school will give you the key constructs of discipline, self-esteem, but then keep an open mind and really give it your all. And don't quit. You're not gonna. It's like starting out a sport. If you play a sport one season, you've really only touched the surface. You got to give it a little bit of time. And if you do, then there's a highly likelihood you're going to fall in love with Kenpo because over time, the you peel the onion back and it just gets sweeter as you get to the center.
Okay. And if you had to impart some wisdom, have an inspirational quote for some of our listeners, what would that be?
Inspirational quotes. Yeah, yeah. I would say, kind of aligned with the previous question, your martial art training doesn't have to be the priority. It needs to be a priority. You got to put the time in. But like me, as far as something, I mean, it's a little bit about me. It's a little bit of about a conclusion. But I would say words of advice is martial art training isn't simply about choosing the harder path. It's about embracing the discipline. It's about being committed to the learning, having an open mind, again and again. Repetition is the mother of skill, another great saying, and realizing that if you have limitations, because you get older and you're thinking about starting, you might be stuck on what you can't do rather than what you can do. Realizing that limitations are often fallacies that we choose to accept, not trusts that we must inherit. And what that means is kind of going back to me as in my story. Doctors told my parents when I was born as a premature baby with a half developed lung and that I would not be a normal kid. I would have issues my whole life, respiratory sicknesses and illnesses. I would never be normal. I'd never be able to participate in any strenuous activity. And I often laugh at that early medical prediction because I that I would never be healthy because the irony is not lost on me here. I've done a lot of competitive sports, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai. I mean, these demand extraordinary respiratory conditioning, scuba diving, skydiving. These are immense stresses on the lungs as well due to the different altitudes. And so whether the predictions were wrong or whether I defeated and defied the odds of adversity, I'm grateful to say that I've lived my whole life with what I call a perfect set of lungs and and intend to be doing martial arts until the very last day that I can or exit this world. I mean, I want to be like Helio Gracie. He was on the mat the day he died. He was rolling and training. Not maybe not to the level of an 18-year-old athlete, but Helio Gracie, the father of Hoyce and and Helson and such, he was on the mat until the very day he died. So those are the words of wisdom I would say is that it becomes a lifestyle it has for me. It's a passion perhaps for others as it is for me. And absolutely, if you're watching this podcast and you've not trained in the martial arts, what have you been waiting for?
Definitely, you know, what they say, a journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first one, right?
Absolutely. And there'll be some bumps in the road, and not all roads are smooth. Some are uphill, but it's the journey that counts. It's not the destination, it's the journey, to use yet another saying.
So, have you been featured in any books, and then are there any books that you recommend to our listeners?
Would be great, but no, I'm just stay and do my thing. I've taught nationally, but not internationally, although I've been to Denmark, Ireland, Spain, both competing in all those countries. But I've taught in Franklin, Mass recently, outside Boston. I've taught in the Washington area. I've taught in Idaho. I've taught in all around California and loves doing so. But more than teaching, I love learning. So you're going to see me. I don't, and I'm not worried about it, to be honest. The rank doesn't. I'm really not so interested in the rank. to be said. I would rather have multiple black belts than, you know, super high ranks, and but it comes with the leadership position you carry. It comes with your own growth. It comes with your own, you know, learning in a structured system. You need to progress, but I'm going to be on the mat, not on the sidelines again until the day I can't do it anymore. That's just who I am. And the people that I've come up with in a lineage, like Sigang and John Sepulveda, AKTS is called the American Kenpo Training System. And the reason it was named that is because we all train. Everybody trains. There's nobody on the sideline. At the camps, we do a 1 mile run, and every individual, you at least need to walk that run. If you can't run it, walk it. But everybody does it. And that's just to be said of the work ethic and the expectation. Martial arts is a physical activity. There's if you're not doing it, then you're an intellectual martial artist, not a, not an activity martial artist.
So you're still teaching at Santa Clara at
I am. Hmm.
the
Yeah,
dojo ran?
I teach on Tuesday nights, and that's help with the kids class, teach the the Kenpo adult class, and then afterwards we have a grappling class that I also teach, incorporating Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, and some of the shoot wrestling drills that I learned from Coach Ron Beer, and then Thursday nights is filled full of private lessons back to back. Get there at 6 and leave at 10 type thing. And so Tuesday and Thursdays I'm there. Sometimes I'll pop in, but we have an interesting thing called NorCal. NorCal is where all the brown and black belts get together, and we train one Sunday morning out of the month, and we step it up in that class. Some good hard hitting technique lines, and otherwise on the weekends I'm trying to get out and go visit other places. I'll be down at Mrs. Barbara White's place in March for a very well-deserved Royal Kids Foundation event there, and I'll be going over to Idaho here for another clinic around Form 8 soon, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And I pop into the Eppersons anytime I visit my brother, Aaron Haley, who lives over in that area, and my parents. I'll pop into the Chico school over there on a Saturday. And when I travel, my gi goes with me no matter what. Even for work, I take my gi because you just never know where something might pop up and an opportunity presents itself. You need to take advantage of those things because you might not get the opportunity another time.
Yeah, definitely. I've had plenty of opportunity traveling for work because I used to be export manager, so I used to travel Southeast Asia, and I didn't take my gi, but I did go and train. And when they found out you did martial arts, they always had interest and say, "Can I take you to meet my master?" And you're like, "Of course you can. Of course
Yeah,
you can. I'd love to meet him." So that
yeah,
was pretty
absolutely.
cool.
Got a funny story about gi, somewhat. When I first visited Eddie Downey in Ireland, I was taking over a stack of embroidered uniforms that I was told by Mr. Sepulveda to give to Ed Downey. So I hit the door. Mr. Downey, hello, sir. My name is Glenn Haley, and John Sepulveda, my instructor, told me to give you these gis. He nearly jerked my arm off, pulled me over to the side. Come here. I know you don't know, but we don't use that word. There are certain words we don't use here, and that is one of them. It's a uniform, sir. It's a uniform. Like, okay. And later I came to realize why. In Irish Gaelic, certain words mean things, and in English they mean something else.
For our listeners that might travel to Ireland, what does gi meaning in Gaelic?
It has to do with referencing a member of a female private part, so you shouldn't really say that word.
That can create a lot of problems.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Man, you got a really nice looking gi there. It's like boom. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's totally innocent over here and over there, but not over
yeah.
in Ireland. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely not. Right.
Okay. All right. And are there any books you can recommend for our listeners to read?
Oh, yes. I was expecting that question, so I did make a note of a few. I just finished one, and I had to copy this name down. This was a recommendation by Lee Wedlake, and this I'll still butcher this gentleman's name. Give me a second to find it. It's called Flow. Lee
Flow.
Wedlake, Flow. Yeah, and it's about like athletes experience what they call an optimal experience. Optimal experience. They're in the flow. They're in the zone. And this I'll butcher his name. It's Mihaly
Mihaly, yeah.
Mihaly Ch- Csikszentmihalyi.
How do you spell that?
Oh boy, it's Csikszentmihalyi. And I
Mayyi.
Mihalyi.
Ly.
Mihalyi.
Csikszentmihalyi Mihaly.
She's good job, Peter. Shazinski Mahali.
It's all Greek, mate. It's all Greek.
Yeah, it's all Greek.
It's all Greek to
That's a
me.
yeah, that's a great book. I mean, Lee Wedlake has written more Kenpo books than probably any other Kenpo practitioner or master out there. His books, I have all of them. I recommend all of Lee Wedlake's book, but I would also recommend um, the Peyton Quinn series of books. Peyton Quinn has something called Real Fighting. Peyton Quinn has a book called Bouncer's Guide to Ballroom Brawling.
Yep.
These are great intellectual stimulations to kind of walk the scenario. I was a bouncer. I was a bouncer in downtown San Jose for a while, just shy of a year, and that was an incredible experience with a couple of encounters that required physical handling. And I used to play a game of what's in your hand. Um, just to see people when they walk through the door, what's in the hand, what's in his hands, what's that? Oh, that's car keys. What? Oh, that's a wallet. What's that? Ah, that's money. Just playing the game, what's in the hand, just which is a great because you got to do that. What's in their hand? Do they have a weapon if in a confrontation? And that Peyton Quinn book was good. And the telltale signs of what is an interview, how does a fight start? I mean, these people are predictable creatures. There's going to be a fade back before here comes the punch. And these things can be read about and you can learn, so definitely those books. There's so many though. I've just got a bookcase full of them, some more instructional, some more philosophical about, the mindset and things like that. But those are made note of.
And for people interested in reaching out to you, you're obviously teaching at the Santa Clara Kenpo Academy. So I suppose we probably give them a shout out, Glenn. Now's the time for
Yes,
their shameless plug.
the shameless plug. Yes, so I'm located and teach at Santa Clara Kenpo Academy. It's located in Santa Clara, California. Homestead and Scott are the cross streets. It's owned by Sandra D. Wonderful, wonderful lady. If you're in the Bay Area and would like to come train regularly, please do drop by. It's a family-oriented environment. If you're out of the area, you're always welcome. Anybody that studies Kenpo is a brother and sister, regardless of their association, regardless of who their instructor is. If you're respectful, you're welcome on the mat, and we would love to extend the relationships. Because again, I think that's what it's all about, is the relationships. I mean, I know people all around the world, and I feel very grateful and honored that I could probably go anywhere, and if I needed if I needed some assistance, the Kenpo community would be there. And so please drop by and if you just want to converse with me and and have a respectful conversation and share ideas of Kenpo, because I don't really like to debate the politics or any of that, then please do so. My email is pretty simple to remember, and it's Glenn Haley 1, Glenn Haley 1 at gmail.com. The numeral 1.
And it's Glenn with two N's, right? Because you guys can't get your act together.
Glenn with two N's,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like Gary. Some Garys have one R, two R's, and they get upset when you spell it wrong. Then again, I did butcher your surname for you, but that's all good.
Haley.
Yeah, you'd think you'd have a problem with Tassiopolis, but no, Haley. All right. All right. And so Santa Clara Kenpo Academy, 2000 Homestead Road, Suite 2, Santa Clara, California, postcode 9505. Number for the studio, +1 for international, 408-249-8800. And website is santaclarakempoacademy.com. Yeah, and apparently you're conveniently located on the corner of Scott Boulevard and Homestead Road next to Little Caesars. So, yeah, shout out to the school. But yeah, and I think that brings us to the end of our questions there. So it's been great having you on. Always a pleasure to talk to you, brother.
And you.
And thanks for sharing your story with the community. I'm sure they'll get a lot out of it.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's been an honor. It's always great talking to you. You're definitely my brother in Kenpo. This has been a real honor. I'm super grateful. If the information shared helps someone, then we've done our job, haven't we?
Correct. Well, we'll talk soon.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, brother. Bye. I'm your host, Peter Taz, and you've tuned in to the Mind Sensei podcast from Down Under. We want to take a moment to thank all our listeners for tuning in to the Mind Sensei podcast. We appreciate your support and hope our show has been both informative and entertaining for you. If you haven't already done so, we would like to invite you to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Finally, we'd like to thank our guests for sharing their knowledge and experience with us. Without their generosity, this podcast would not be possible. Thank you again for listening to the Mind Sensei podcast Down Under. We hope that you continue to join us on this journey through the world of martial arts.